When the Xu family was facing a great crisis, the younger generation used the ancestral artifact of the Zhenzu clan, the Resurrection Tower, to revive their ancestors who had been poisoned for thousands of years. After Xu Qingshu was reborn, in order to save the struggling Xu family, she had to take the group of young children behind her to fight monsters all the way. Everyone knows that she is free-spirited, ruthless, dares to kick the emperor, and is the master of the hammer. Taking advantage of the powerful demon emperor's amnesia, he deceived him into being his personal guard. Unfortunately, Xu Qingshu is extremely generous when it comes to people with high looks. She gives elixirs, divine tools, and magical talismans to those who are not attractive, and there is nothing she cannot think of. But she didn't know that it was Xu Qingshu who bound a "spending money makes me powerful" system. As long as she spent money on the task target and gained popularity, it could help her transform her spirit and break through the sky. Zhou Yanyu said, "Just deceive me into being a guard." Madam, after using it, she turns around and wants to run away. It's so heartless. Xu Qingshu. I accidentally stumbled. Keywords of the novel. Old ancestors binding to the Shenhao system resulted in a broken display without a pop-up window. Old ancestors binding to the Shenhao system resulted in a broken display. Download the complete TXT collection. Old ancestors binding to the Shenhao system resulted in a broken display of the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Unmanned Assistance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Unmanned Assistance. Zhongyuan Wushuan Empire, capital of the Xu family. A group of people in the air stood shoulder to shoulder on top of the warcraft, blocking the sky and sun, plunging the entire Xu family into darkness. Stop struggling, hand over the Resurrection Tower. Spiritual beings above spiritual cultivation level will commit suicide. I guarantee that the younger generation of the Xu family will not die. Pooh. To use the Resurrection Tower, you need the Xu family's bloodline to activate it. Of course, you won't let them die. Toast, don't eat, fine. The old man floating in mid-air flashed anger in his eyes and said, "Since you don't recognize it, there's no need for the Xu family to exist." As the words fell, the people tightly wrapped around the Xu family lifted their magical tools and rushed down. Seeing the fight outside, Xu Qingshu was as anxious as ants on a hot pot. She had already been summoned back from the other world by the Resurrection Tower, and was about to be reborn, but to her surprise, she was interrupted by the old man outside. The divine soul can only stay in the Resurrection Tower. Nowadays, half of the well-known sects have come to rob and kill the Xu family, causing such a big commotion. Everyone knows, but no one helps. The Xu family is at least one of the 5 major aristocratic families. Those who have a strained face and heart can do without helping. It seems that he has forgotten who this vast empire was built on thousands of years ago. Xu Qingshu clenched her hands hanging on both sides, her dark purple eyes flashing fiercely. She thought that the Xu family would encounter great difficulties, but did not expect it to be so difficult. It's fake to say you're not angry. You've worked hard all your life on your family business. 10,000 years ago, her own brother and sister-in-law left a little doll behind. After being both a father and a mother, she pulled the doll up and even brought the Xu family to its peak. At that time, not only in the Wushuan Empire, but also in the entire Ningxi continent, who was not allowed to give way to the Xu family. These little bunnies are really not up to par. They must have inherited the unreliable genes of their own brother. Ding! Spending money to make my system 303 powerful is being bound. A cold voice rang out in her mind, and Xu Qingshu's eyes flashed with caution. What do you want to do? Accept the task, the system helps the host get out. Upon hearing this, Xu Qingshu agreed without much thought. Anyway, she has been reborn and the strange poison in her body has not been relieved, so she won't be able to live for a few days. Xu Qingshu didn't even care about agreeing to the system, could it still argue with a dead person? The divine soul returned to the previous corpse. Sitting in the main seat, Xu Qingshu opened her eyes and a terrifying cold aura enveloped her body. A strong sense of suffocation rushed towards me. Keeping everyone present motionless, Xu Qingshu took out her curved sword and her figure instantly appeared in mid-air. A group of Lu ants dared to act recklessly in the Xu family. Before they could react, the dozen or so elderly people led by her wiped their necks in the blink of an eye. The curved knife, stained with blood, is sharper and more dazzling at a speed visible to the naked eye. The disheveled Xu family leader below saw the figure with white hair and black clothes, his eyes filled with excitement and surprise. The Xu family is saved. Congratulations to Qingshu Patriarch. The younger generation of the Xu family knelt down one after another. Xu Qingshu reached out to touch the curved blade, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Kill. The younger generation of the Xu family clenched their magical tools and mercilessly stabbed at outsiders. The people who attacked the Xu family saw their companions collapse silently, their eyes flashing with fear and despair. Exhausting all his spiritual power, he wanted to leave, but his body remained motionless, like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. After a bloody storm. Inside Qingyun Pavilion, a group of men, women, and children all knelt on the ground. Xu Qingshu's delicate and stunning face was slightly indifferent, with deep and sharp purple eyes staring at them. Make everyone present nervous involuntarily. Xu, the head of the Xu family, felt uneasy in his heart, but he still knocked his head a few times and his voice trembled as he said, "Young Xu Zimo, with the Xu family's legitimate lineage, pays respects to the Qingshu ancestors." Seeing her silent for a long time, Master Xu's heart sank. The new book is here. Please support the duck, dear children. Seeking collection, seeking recommended tickets duck. Thank you, Momoda Omega, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Qingshu Patriarch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Qingshu Patriarch. Xu Qingshu raised her hand and gently softened her headache, her hoarse voice unable to distinguish joy or anger. You are really amazing. The leader of the 5 great aristocratic families was bullied like this. She was originally in another world, sitting on a soft sofa, drinking sweet milk tea, and playing games about to advance. Who knew? Caught in a painful spot, the Xu family leader seemed to have found a support, crying and kneeling at Xu Qingshu's feet without any regard for his image. Begging our ancestors to be the masters of the Xu family. Emperor Wuxuan secretly allied with the Song family to suppress the Xu family for nearly a century, and even assassinated dozens of disciples who had been practicing outside. Speaking of this, everyone's faces showed signs of anger. The Xu family is the leader of the aristocratic family. Even if the Song family has the support of the Dog Emperor, how dare they? This matter is not right, Xu Qingshu frowned. My ancestors were unaware that after you left, the Xu family's territory automatically activated a defense formation due to insufficient spiritual support, and no one could enter. The treasure pavilion is right in front of us, but far away from the horizon. There are no good resources or talented young people. The Xu family is gradually declining, and now they will soon be squeezed out of the 5 major aristocratic families. Xu, the head of the family, has explained the situation of these years one by one. The 5 major aristocratic families today, except for the Xu and Song families, the other 3 are all newly emerged. The Wuxuan Empire is now different from the past, and its strength has become so strong that it monopolizes the Central Plains. Once there were no sects that supported the emperor, they were all forced to move to the eastern regions. Xu Qingshu narrowed her eyes thoughtfully. It seemed that the Dog Emperor could not move at the moment. Xu, the head of the Xu family, continued to complain, tears streaming down his face as he said, "This time, when you come back, you must help the younger generation of the Xu family and repay the shame of these years." Upon hearing this, Xu Qingshu lowered her gaze and glanced at him, her dark eyes flashing with complex colors. I really want to tell them that even if she were reborn, she might not live long. But the thought of their surprised and hopeful eyes just now made Xu Qingshu feel extremely helpless. It's just that. Take a step and see. Xu Qingshu withdrew her thoughts and said with a disdainful expression, "You get up and talk. It's not like the Xu family to kneel at an old age." "Yes, yes, yes." Master Xu wiped away his tears and quickly got up. At the same time, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief in my heart. I feel that our ancestors are quite good. It's not at all like what Grandpa said, he's a cowardly and ruthless person. It is always said that the use of the Resurrection Tower is absolutely not allowed until a major crisis is imminent, except at home. Thinking of this, he felt a bit puzzled. When the Resurrection Tower was opened, it was stopped. How did the Ancestor come out? Mr. Xu didn't think much about this. With a long-lost smile on his face, he raised his hand and gestured for all the members of the Xu family to get up. "Hurry up and pay our respects to the ancestors of the Xu family," he said. Xu Qingshu. It's not necessary. No woman is willing to admit that she is old. Moreover, apart from being poisoned and leaving a head of white hair, although she is over 20,000 years old in appearance, she really looks like a little girl. The Xu family, unaware of her thoughts, came forward to bow respectfully. "Ancestors." Xu Qingshu was about to speak when a transparent screen suddenly appeared in front of her, and a cold voice echoed in her mind again. "Ding, the system has discovered the task target. Name: Xu Qingshu. Age: 16 years old. Height: 160 centimeters. Comprehensive score for appearance: 8.5 points. Current favorability towards the host: 60 points, 100 out of 100, the girl meets the task requirements, and the current host has 9 health points remaining. What does it mean? An inexplicable black ring appeared inside the space bracelet, causing confusion and shock in Xu Qingshu's heart, but not on her face. My gaze fell on the young girl in ginger clothes ahead, with a slightly pink face that was incredibly beautiful and vulgar. She was truly a delicate little beauty. With just one glance, Xu Qingshu shifted her gaze away. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Women's Intuition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Women's Intuition. The system has a good eye, and she was also quite tempted after reading it. "I'm tired, you all step down. Old Ancestor, please rest well first." After everyone left, Xu Qingshu's gaze swept towards a floating 9-story pagoda, which was the Xu family's ancestral artifact, the Resurrection Tower. It can only be opened once every 10,000 years, and it must be a person with blood ties in the Xu family, gathering all 8 spiritual root attributes, and then willingly using heart blood to pass it on successfully. This system is quite powerful and can allow her to come out of the Resurrection Tower. Xu Qingshu lifted her slender and fair hand and put the Resurrection Tower into the space. With 9 health points left, is there still 9 days left until the poison is released? The host guessed correctly. Sure enough, women's intuition is not wrong. Xu Qingshu felt her head ache again. "Please start the mission as soon as possible. If your health reaches 100 points, you can detoxify. Spending system gold can also give the host a 10% rebate." Xu Qingshu's drooping eyes moved slightly. She deeply understands how difficult it is to detoxify the strange toxins in her body. It can be said that she searched the entire Ningxi continent, tried countless antidotes, and still died with regret. Xu Qingshu was half believing and half doubting. After all, there are so many people in countless worlds. Why did a system like this that can be detoxified and become powerful by spending money to boost favorability hit her? Who wouldn't be confused if they were smashed at such a good thing that the world loses its pie? But if there is hope to continue living, she will definitely not let go. Xu Qingshu's dark eyes narrowed slightly, looking for an opportunity to quickly get in touch with the little girl. As if remembering something, a smile flashed in her eyes. opportunities can be created. Xu Qingshu stood up and left, walking on the familiar and unfamiliar dark brown simple corridor. At noon, the sky was scorching like fire. The entire Xu family suddenly began to shake. The disciples of the Xu family, who were still dealing with corpses outside, were once again panicked. What happened? Those people from small sects are coming over again. Hurry up and start the clan protection formation. Xu, the head of the Xu family, appeared to signal everyone to calm down. He followed the direction of the sound and calmed his voice, saying, "Now that our ancestors have returned, there is no need to worry or be afraid." Upon hearing this, the Xu family finally realized. Seeing that everyone was no longer panicked, although the Xu family leader appeared calm on the surface, he still felt a bit uneasy inside. He lifted his foot and quickly walked away, saying as he walked, "Let's go see what's going on over there." That direction was once the territory of the Xu family, but no one has set foot on it for tens of thousands of years now. When they arrived, Xu Qingshu was infusing spiritual power into the Xu family, her snow-white long hair drifting in the wind. This scene instantly lifted the heart of the Xu family leader. Our ancestors cannot do it. Why? Xu Qingshu turned her head and looked at the Xu family leader who was rushing to stop her. Her cold purple eyes were dark and profound. Opening the Dharma requires a huge amount of spiritual support, and relying solely on you may exhaust your spiritual power. The consequences will be unimaginable. Moreover, your old man has just returned, so it's not advisable to hurt your muscles and bones again. After speaking, seeing that there was no intention of stopping her movements, the Xu family leader was so anxious that he almost jumped up. He seemed to have made some kind of determination, gathering spiritual power with his hands and injecting it into the Dharma. "You all come and help." "No need, I'm enough alone," Xu Qingshu said to stop. The younger generation of the Xu family dared not step forward and turned their gaze to the Xu family leader. Master Xu looked over in confusion. Xu Qingshu gave him a reassuring look and said, "The formation that I personally set up can be activated no matter what. It's just a small formation. Although I don't know what level her cultivation has reached, the input of spiritual power is not enough to harm her body." 1 hour later. Ping! A dazzling golden light quickly flashed past, and a strong spiritual aura rushed towards me. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Strange and Cute. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Strange and Cute, it's on. The Dharma has really opened up. The Xu family couldn't conceal their excitement on their faces, and their respect for Xu Qingshu increased a bit. The Xu family suggested opening their mouths as if they wanted to say something, but when they turned their heads and saw Xu Qingshu's tired expression, they quickly reached out for her to support her. Xu Qingshu remained indifferent and casually pointed back, "You don't need to, let the young one come over." Following the direction she had just pointed out, the Xu family leader quickly spoke up and said, "Qixing, come here." Xu Qixing, who was called out, suddenly became nervous. She quickly ran over to Xu Qingshu's side and reached out to help, respectfully whispering, "Ancestor." Xu Qingshu let out a faint As she touched the soft palm of the little girl's hand, the corner of her mouth curved and quickly fell down. "Let's go take a look first, you can find someone to clean tomorrow," she said. "Yes," Master Xu nodded repeatedly. After entering the Dharma, everyone closely followed Xu Qingshu, afraid of getting lost in this unfamiliar environment. Ha! The crisp chirping of birds came, and the dangerous atmosphere was getting closer and closer. Everyone's faces changed drastically. Unexpectedly, there are still warcraft in the Xu family's Dharma land, and they have been able to survive in it for at least tens of thousands of years. Everyone picked up magical weapons to defend themselves. The massive warcraft flew towards the sky, and no one had time to see its appearance clearly. The free warcraft quickly landed again and knocked down multiple addicts of the Xu family one after another. Its fierce appearance made people feel so scared that they couldn't help but take a few steps back. Xu Qingshu's gaze fell on the warcraft, and her delicate and beautiful face gradually sank. "You're reckless." As the words fell, the Depeng bird looked at her with its eyes filled with astonishment, and began speaking with uncertainty. "Master, is that you? How ugly." Xu Qingshu frowned with a hint of disgust on her face. When the word "really ugly" is heard, the Depeng bird knows that its owner has returned. Immediately transformed into an ugly and cute little bird, flew into her arms, and began to cry with grievances. "I want a contract. Even if I die, I will follow my master and beg him not to leave Xiaozi behind." The Xu family, who had just come to their senses, felt that the scene before them was somewhat bizarre. Just now, the majestic and ferocious Depeng bird became so strange. "It's so cute." Xu Qingshu reached out to pinch its neck and lifted it up, looking at the place where it had knocked it down. "Remember to compensate." Depeng bird. It is truly its owner. "Master, rest assured that I will work hard for you and not let you pay a penny." Xu Qingshu nodded in satisfaction, took the Depeng bird back into her own space, and took the Xu family around inside, introducing them to each other with care. In case someone gets lost and accidentally touches the mechanism, it will be troublesome. Finally, everyone stopped at the door of the treasure trove. Xu Qingshu gathered her spiritual power in her palms and knocked it away. The thick stone door, accompanied by the piercing sound of grinding stones, was slowly pushed open. An ancient aura that seemed to have been sealed in dust for thousands of years rushed towards us. "You can choose any magical tool inside." Xu Qingshu turned to look at the Xu family and continued, "As long as you can hold it, no matter what level it is, even a divine tool can be used." The Xu family's eyes lit up instantly. The Xu family leader didn't expect her ancestors to be so generous. After all, these things are all her. "Thank you, Patriarch." A group of people rushed forward, and the originally empty treasure trove was instantly filled with people. Upon seeing this, Xu Qingshu spoke again and said, "The treasure pavilion has 8 levels, and the higher the level of the magical tools at the back, the higher the level. You can get the best with your abilities. Go and give it a try." Upon hearing this, there were soon only a few people left on the first floor. Xu Qingshu turned her head to look at Xu Qingshu next to her, and saw a twinkle of joy and anticipation in her eyes. "Look at your talent, I can choose a suitable magical tool for you. Let's go." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Close the door and beat the dog. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Close the door and beat the dog. Thank you, Ancestor. Xu Qingshu was both surprised and delighted, his hands supporting Xu Qingshu trembling but not noticing. Xu Qingshu's favorability score is plus 5 points, with a total favorability score of 65 points. 5 points are converted into health points, and the current host's health points are still 14 points. Xu Qingshu raised her eyebrows, and a pair of dark eyes flashed with a smile. A little girl is easy to deceive. The two of them easily walked up to the 5th floor, where only 6 people were competing with magical tools. Xu Qingshu also had some points in her heart about the current strength of these younger generations, and couldn't help but sigh lightly. The Xu family is really down and out. Seeing her shake her head and sigh, Xu Qingshu worried and said, "Does our ancestor feel unwell?" "No problem, let's take another step up." Xu Qingshu was surprised. Is the ancestor going to choose a magical tool for her on the 6th floor? The terrifying idea had just sprouted in her mind and was quickly verified by Xu Qingshu. She pointed to the artifact floating in the center and said, "This 6th-level artifact is called the Jade Bone Long Whip, which is most compatible with water attribute spiritual beings and will be yours in the future." Xu Qingshu looked at Xu Qingshu incredulously. "Ancestor, our master's current magical tool is only 6th grade. This Jade Bone Long Whip is too valuable, and I'm afraid it will be remembered by others. Moreover, with my mid-cultivation level as a spiritual person, I can't resist those people's scheming. After speaking, she couldn't help but feel a mist rising in her surprised and reluctant eyes. She looks pitiful and lovable. Xu Qingshu reached out and gently rubbed her head, but her eyes were cold and indifferent. With my master here, you don't need to be afraid. If you're really worried, then don't take it out after you make the contract. Let it come to life when you have the ability to protect it. As she spoke, she handed Xu Qingshu the jade bone whip and spoke softly, this magical tool can also increase its level with your cultivation. You should practice it well in the future and not slack off. Yes. Xu Qingshu clenched the cold magical tool in his hand, his pitch-black eyes full of determination. Qingshu won't disappoint our ancestors. Xu Qingshu's favorability score is plus 5 points, with a total favorability score of 70 points. 5 points are converted into health points, and the current host's health points are still 19 points. Xu Qingshu was a bit surprised, but her love for Xu Qingshu grew stronger in her heart. At this moment, a noisy sound came from outside. I vaguely heard someone arguing, and Xu Qingshu looked at Xu Qingshu next to her. Seeing her face turn fearful, she knew that nothing good had happened downstairs. Xu Qingshu walked to the window and jumped down. Ancestor. Xu Qingshu quickly followed. The two of them had just jumped to the ground when everyone around them fell silent. The Xu family leader behind him spoke in a domineering tone, "Ancestor, the Song family is bullying people too much. How dare they break into the Xu family and make noise? We cannot easily let him go." If it had been before, he would never have dared to say that. But now that our ancestors are here and the Xu family has someone to support us, that's different. Okay. Xu Qingshu's lips curved into a cold smile, and she looked at the chasing guard. Close the door, beat the dog. Obey me. The gatekeeper quickly ran out to close the door and opened the clan protection formation. No one can enter or leave. Xu Qingshu smiled with satisfaction. If you have any grudges or grievances, feel free to fight. If you have any issues, I will hold on to them. Listening to her tone, it didn't seem like she was joking at all, and the face of the Song family finally changed. The middle-aged man led by him quickly calmed down and spoke in a deep voice, "I am the younger brother of the head of the Song family. I came rashly today and also heard the news of the Xu family. I am worried that the Xu family will just break in, so there is no intention of offending me." After a pause, he continued, "I don't know which ancestor of the Xu family you are. I can also go back to prepare gifts and visit you at the door." Xu Qingshu's gaze, like looking at ants, fell on the middle-aged man. "Unfortunately, you don't have a chance." As soon as the words fell, the Xu family gathered around. Xu, the head of the Xu family, took the lead and waved his wooden stick, shouting loudly, "Eat me a stick." Ah! The two sides quickly got into a fight. Due to only 5 or 6 members of the Song family coming, they quickly fell behind. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Dooming Like a Fool. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Dooming like a fool. The middle-aged man had a blue nose and swollen face at this moment, and his palms were concentrated with spiritual power. He was about to shoot out, but was quickly pressed down. Half an hour later. The Xu family finally stopped, feeling a sense of malice, with a long-lost expression of pleasure between their eyebrows and eyes. The middle-aged man, who had suffered multiple fractures and collapsed on the ground with a weak breath, bit his back teeth and warned, "Xu Zimo, I am the younger brother of the head of the Song family. If you seriously injured me today, won't you be afraid of war between the two tribes?" "Ha!" Xu Qingshu sneered. The threat before his death made people feel more like a jumping clown at this moment. Xu Qingshu knew that he was procrastinating and not in a hurry by saying so much. Just send the message back and see if it's because they came faster, or if it's because my sword is faster. Seeing his thoughts being understood, the middle-aged man's eyes flashed with a hint of panic, and he looked toward Xu Qingshu with Yuguang. The woman's delicate face was very delicate, with a hint of coldness in her pale purple eyes, and her white hair drifting like a waterfall. Looking so beautiful and delicate, the blood-red curved sword in her hand made her appear like a deadly cultivator at this moment. Several portraits flashed through his mind, and the middle-aged man's pupils shrank slightly. His face turned pale like a corpse, and fear and despair flashed through his eyes. His body trembled uncontrollably, his lips hesitated, but he didn't know what to say. You are Xu Qingshu. A hoarse voice, as if squeezed out from the throat. Xu Qingshu remained silent, which can be considered as acquiescence. Done. He encountered a demon. The middle-aged man became even more desperate, regretting why he had to die and break in today. Xu Qingshu walked towards him step by step, looking down at the few people from a high position, holding the curved knife tightly in her hands and slowly raising it. Being able to become the feed for the other side's curved blade is your blessing. This blessing is for you, do you want it? No, no, no. I beg Qingshu Ancestor to let me go for the sake of the Song family. My life is not valuable, as long as you are willing to spare my life, I can offer you anything you need in the future. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with fear, wanting to step back, but he couldn't exert any force all over. Finally, I was scared and wet my pants. Xu Qingshu looked disgusted, but she still used a curved knife to cut at his neck. The other bank's curved blade has not seen any blood for a long time, and its power is no longer as strong as before. These people are like fools sending it to her door, and she doesn't need it in vain. After the end, Xu Qingshu calmly retrieved the magical tools in her hand and said, "It's unlucky to send them back and leave them at the Xu family." The Xu family leader immediately ordered people to deal with the dried corpses on the ground, but the shock in his heart lingered for a long time. Unexpectedly, the famous curved sword on the other side of the continent thousands of years ago actually needed human blood as feed. How many people must be killed before it becomes an artifact? Think carefully and be extremely scared. Xu, the head of the family, swallowed his saliva with difficulty, and his eyes followed the gradually receding figure. What Grandpa said may not be exaggerated. The guard had just left with the body through the back door when a group of people arrived in front of the Xu family gate. The leader is a young man wearing a blue brocade robe, with warm eyebrows and eyes, a noble demeanor, and a steady aristocratic temperament emanating from his body. Song Wenhua curled her lips slightly and said politely to the gatekeeper, "Could you please announce that the eldest son of the Song family, Song Wenhua, is coming to visit?" The two guards looked at each other and hesitated for a moment before one of them turned around and left. Xu Qingshu listened to the guard's report and lightly took a sip of the tea on the table with a calm expression. Not seen. The guard had just left, and the Xu family leader next to him couldn't sit still. Ancestor, although Song Wenhua is the eldest son of a commoner, he has a good talent for cultivation and holds a great position in the Song family. His visit here is probably... Before she could finish speaking, Xu Qingshu's dark and deep cold eyes swept towards him. Are you afraid? No, no. Xu, the head of the Xu family, had a worried expression on his forehead. I'm not afraid to confront the Song family, but I'm afraid they will continue to harm the younger generation of the Xu family. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Apologizing at the door. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Apologizing at the door. Xu Qingshu let out a cold snort, her deep eyes shining sharply. Those few corpses are both warnings and provocations. If they are not confident in defeating the Xu family with one strike, they will not easily take action again. After all, the ancestors of the Xu family are not vegetarians. She's not even Xu Qingshu. If anyone dares to touch the Xu family under her nose, then let the world see how the rumored Xia character of the demon god came about. She knows the younger generation of the Xu family's legitimate lineage, some of whom are disciples of the Eastern Domain sect and are still outside for training without returning. We can take advantage of this time to let the younger generation go home quickly. After the turbulence, they don't have to hide. After Master Xu understood, he admired this old ancestor even more in his heart. The next day. The morning light was faint, and in the antique room, Xu Qingshu, lying on the bed, had just opened her eyes when the sound of the system rang in her mind. Host health remaining at 18 points. Xu Qingshu. One sentence ruined her good mood. It's really unlucky. Can you talk about it at noon? Why, I'm afraid you'll be punished sooner or later. Xu Qingshu rolled her eyes to herself and got up to wash and dress in frustration. My retribution is you. I have never seen a human before, knowing that I won't live for a month, yet I dare to act so shamelessly. Seeing that the system was silent, Xu Qingshu's mood finally improved. She lifted her foot and walked to the window to look outside. The environment outside the window is beautiful, with dense and lush bamboo standing in 2 rows along the path. The breeze blows, and the green bamboo rustles. Her Qingyun pavilion is the largest courtyard of the entire Xu family, and the furniture inside is the same as 10,000 years ago, which has been well preserved by the younger generation of the Xu family. Xiaozi, let's make a contract. Xu Qingshu felt guilty about it. The contract was decided after a night of contemplation. 10,000 years ago, she knew her poison was not easy to cure, so she had no contract with the monsters around her. Now that there is a system, you can give it a try. Upon hearing these words, the Dupeng bird in the space was excited and couldn't wait to fly out. Before Xu Qingshu could recite the spell of the equal contract, a drop of blood essence condensed into her forehead. A strange red formation appeared, which is only available in the master-servant contract. Xu Qingshu was stunned for a moment, her purple eyes flashing with helplessness. As long as it didn't regret, she was also fearless. Master, why is there an extra ink ring in your space? I found many spirit stones inside that I can't finish in my lifetime, said the Dupeng bird with a puzzled expression. Xu Qingshu only then remembered the system gold. She took out the ink ring and put it on her right index finger, looking thoughtful as she said, it was given by someone else. The Dupeng bird was stunned. Which big grudge seed has so much money? Looking at its ugly and cute appearance, Xu Qingshu's eyes flashed with a faint smile, and she extended her finger to poke its small head. Don't think about it, I'll take you out to explore the Wushuan Empire 10,000 years later. Speaking so, I'm actually looking for someone. Xu Qingshu actually cares a lot about the fact that she can only live for more than half a month. I just don't want to think too much. The more I think, the more irritable I become. Since the system requires good-looking people to become task targets, she should go out more often. The Wushuan Empire is so big, it will always come across. After all, pulling wool cannot just catch one person. The bustling streets are bustling with people coming and going. Young master, it's clearly the Xu family who bullied others too much. They not only killed second master, but also openly brought back the body. Why don't the head of the family seek justice and ask you to come to the door every day with gifts to apologize? Upon hearing this, Song Wenhua turned her head to look at him. The warm and smiling eyes, which were clearly pleasing to the eye, had a chilling sensation that pierced through the heart. The servant quickly lowered his head and raised his hand to slap himself in the face. It's a little talkative. There are some things, the less you know, the better, said Song Wenhua with a slight curl of her mouth and an unclear tone. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Is your master? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Is your master? As soon as he finished speaking, Song Wenhua noticed someone staring at him and casually looked at the second floor across from him. A hint of amazement flashed in her warm eyes. Xu Qingshu was dressed in a black and gold dress, with a slender and symmetrical figure highlighted. Her long white hair was casually tied up in a bun, and her face was incredibly beautiful. Her phoenix eyes were naturally beautiful, yet she exuded a majestic aura. Seeing the beautiful man looking towards her, Xu Qingshu's lips curved into an inexplicable smile. His appearance has grown to the depths of his heart. The more you look, the more satisfied you become. Ding, the system has discovered the task target. Name: Song Wenhua. Age: 26 years old. Height: 186 centimeters. Comprehensive score for appearance: 9.0 points. Current favorability towards the host: 10 points. The boy meets the task requirements. This seemed to be expected by Xu Qingshu, and she turned around and left the restaurant. Song Wenhua didn't care either, turned his head and continued to rush towards the Xu family with a gift. After leaving the restaurant, Xu Qingshu was stopped by the system while walking in the quiet alley. There is a suspected task target, the host should go and take a look. What about it? How come there are still suspicions? Xu Qingshu turned her head and looked around. Except for the beggar who was dressed in rags and curled up in the corner not far away, there were hardly any living creatures around. Suspected target is a beggar. Xu Qingshu frowned and finally walked over. As soon as she approached, she smelled a burnt smell from the beggar. Xu Qingshu squatted down and reached out her jade hand to unravel the messy long hair on his face. She saw the faint red marks on his forehead, and her pupils inadvertently contracted slightly. Demon people. It's really strange that a demon race person came here to become a beggar. Xu Qingshu helped him check his injuries and found that the beggar was not only seriously injured, but also half of his face was burned by the fire of the Red Lotus industry. It's a bit difficult to recover. The system says it seems like the target. Is it because he disfigured? Ah, Yen Go. Not angry, not angry. If you want to go home, you have to rely on her. The system remained silent, and Xu Qingshu rolled her eyes to herself. Since the beggar was not yet the target of the mission, let it go. After all, it would take a lot of effort to help him recover his appearance. Why not find someone who is not disfigured? Xu Qingshu was about to leave and a deep voice came from behind. Who are you? The beggar stood up trembling with blood-stained hands on the wall, looking around with confusion. Who am I? Xu Qingshu raised her slender eyebrows and turned her head to look at the stunned beggar. You don't remember anything? As soon as the beggar nodded, a piercing pain came from his head. Ah! He crouched on the ground with his head clasped in pain. Xu Qingshu walked quickly, her palms pumping spiritual energy into his forehead, and the pain gradually disappeared quickly. The beggar sat against the wall, sweating profusely. As he bent down, a black jade plaque fell to the ground with a ding-dong sound. Xu Qingshu picked it up and saw 3 words carved on it. Zhou Yenyu. This beggar's name sounds quite nice. After flipping over the jade plaque and seeing the pattern on it, Xu Qingshu was startled. If she remembers correctly, the person who can wear this pattern in the demon clan must have a status above the demon lord. Since Zhou Yenyu has it, then Xu Qingshu's gaze scanned him up and down, and as soon as she spoke a lie, she said, I am your master, and I have come specifically to find you who is missing. Zhou Yenyu nodded in confusion, with a clear and foolish expression in her dark eyes. He looked pitifully at Xu Qingshu, with a deep voice filled with grievances. Master, I hurt so much. Xu Qingshu. If a beautiful man acts coquettishly, she will definitely go over and coax him well. If she can ignore the burnt half of his left face. Let's talk about it later if we have something to do. Xu Qingshu grabbed his arm and quickly disappeared in place. Xu Qingshu was overjoyed to receive a loyal dog with high spiritual power. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Want to eat young grass. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9. Want to eat young grass. As soon as the two returned to Qingyun Pavilion, Xu Qingshu instructed the guards to take Zhou Yanyu down to recuperate. Only when he recovers from his injuries can he secretly do things for her. At this moment, the guard came to report that Song Wenhua from the Song family had arrived again. This time, Xu Qingshu did not refuse again and said in a cold voice, "Let them come in." In less than half a cup of tea time, Song Wenhua, with warm eyebrows and eyes, walked into the yard with long legs. He reached out and bowed respectfully, saying, "Song Wenhua, the younger generation of the Song family, has met the ancestor of Qingshu." This statement carries a hint of probing. Before his death, Uncle Heir heard back that the Xu family's resurrection tower had resurrected the evil god, and there was no further news. There are only two people who can be called evil gods to this day. One is the current ruler of the demon clan. One is Xu Qingshu, who has been dead for thousands of years. After discussing with the elders, the head of the Song family decided to let him come and explore. If Qingshu Ancestor really comes back to life, some things will become troublesome. But if other ancestors of the Xu family impersonate Xu Qingshu sat elegantly in the main seat, her dark and deep purple eyes sweeping towards him. Humph, she doesn't even need to guess what kind of devilish idea she's up to. The Song family is really becoming more and more unruly. Apologizing for this kind of thing, why do you want the younger generation to come over and do it? Her voice was ethereal and clear, with a hint of coldness in her words. Song Wenhua wanted to explain, but as soon as he looked up and met her, Xu Qingshu's cold and stunning face fell into his eyes, and a hint of amazement flashed through her pitch-black eyes. "It's her." The two of them looked at each other for a few seconds, and Song Wenhua quickly lowered her head. Her ears were slightly red, and for an instant, she felt her heart beating violently and clearly. Knowing that he had offended him, he coughed lightly and pretended to be calm, explaining, "Previously, my second uncle had offended the Xu family a lot. I came to apologize on behalf of the Song family. And on the way back home, Uncle Heir plotted against the enemy's family. Now that he has passed away, please don't take such a small matter to heart." As soon as the words fell, the servants of the Song family quickly took out the things stored in the storage bag. Several mahogany boxes fell to the ground with a bang, neatly arranged and automatically opened one after another. I saw that the wooden box not only contained advanced secret scripts, but also various 1st to 5th grade miraculous medicines, which were of great benefit to cultivators. Upon seeing this, the Xu family members all looked indifferent, with no hint of surprise in their eyes. If these boxes were left in the past, they might have been taken away long ago. But since seeing the treasures of the Dharma, looking at these slightly lower grade things, I feel that they don't match the Xu family anymore. Song Wenhua saw their expressions in his eyes, still wearing a gentle smile on their faces, but his heart sank. After listening to his words, Xu Qingshu only wanted to laugh. Even though the second son of the Song family was killed by her own hands, the Xu family personally brought him back, and they could still open their eyes and tell lies. It truly deserves to be the Song family. After a long time, Xu Qingshu finally asked, "Do you really want me to accept the gift?" Song Wenhua nodded without hesitation. I was puzzled in my heart, why did Qingshu Ancestor ask him? Xu Qingshu's face lit up with a malicious smile. "Since you agree, then go back and tidy up. At night, I will order someone to take you over and arrange accommodation." After speaking, she glanced sideways at the silent Xu family leader beside her. Upon receiving a signal from his gaze, the head of the Xu family quickly understood and quickly stood up, bowing and saying, "My ancestors have instructed me that I will not neglect Prince Song." The smile on Song Wenhua's face stiffened slightly, as if she had heard the wrong thing. He looked directly at Xu Qingshu, his eyebrows slightly furrowed as if he couldn't understand, and said, "I dare ask what Qingshu's ancestor said just now, what does that mean?" "Let him go back and tidy up, and come over tonight." Listen to this. Is it difficult for the Xu family ancestors to want to eat tender grass? Didn't you already guess? Xu Qingshu stared at him with her eyes hooked. Sure enough, the smile on his face couldn't be sustained. Song Wenhua was shocked in his heart, and his hands hanging on both sides couldn't help but clench into fists. His voice was much calmer than before. Qingshu Patriarch really likes to joke. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Desperate to Others. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Desperate to others. She is very beautiful and has strong strength. But after all, they are too old, which is not good for the reputation of both of them. Especially for him, it is easy to misunderstand that he is eating soft food. Are you joking? Xu Qingshu's red lips curled slightly as she stood up and walked towards him step by step. These gifts are just superficial. What the Song family really wants to give to me is you. Upon hearing this, not only Song Wenhua was shocked, but the Xu family present were also stunned. Xu, the head of the Xu family, was the first to react and knew that there were some things they couldn't hear next. He quickly led his people to quietly retreat. Also drag away the servants of the Song family. Nonsense. Although he was already suppressing his anger, his voice had also increased significantly compared to before. Watching his angry expression, Xu Qingshu's heart grew even more fond of it. I ask you, there are so many distinguished elders in the Song family, why do you need to come over as a young junior? Upon hearing this, Song Wenhua's eyes drooped slightly. Perhaps it was the elders who refused to come forward, so they chose me from among the younger generation to apologize on behalf of the Song family. Even if you want to send younger generations over, they are still legitimate or have the most outstanding abilities, not the most outstanding looks. Xu Qingshu curled her lips and sneered, besides, you are a commoner. What qualifications do you have to represent the Song family? As she spoke, Xu Qingshu sighed helplessly and said, they should be aware of my preferences, that's why they invited you over. They wanted me to see you, and now they're doing as they please. Does it mean you're interested in him? Song Wenhua's pupils inadvertently contracted slightly, his heart inexplicably pounding. After a flurry, he finally calmed down completely. Her indifferent eyes were fixed on her, and her tone was extremely cold. Even if my spiritual roots and cultivation are not the most outstanding, I still have a certain status in the Song family, not as bad as you said. Xu Qingshu nodded nonchalantly. You still don't want to believe it, so let's make a bet, okay? Song Wenhua hesitated and finally agreed. A bet is a person who loses, as long as they don't touch the bottom line, they help the winning party complete something. Xu Qingshu is quite satisfied with this. After returning, you said that your master had accepted the gift, and then lied that you were going out to experience. Let's see if you can leave tonight or be tied up by them and sent to the Xu family. You. Song Wenhua's face was gloomy. He opened his mouth as if trying to say something, but in the end he swallowed it back into his stomach. Song Wenhua took a deep breath, his forehead sweating profusely with bulging veins, as if trying to restrain something. I will win. Seeing that his head was about to smoke with anger, Xu Qingshu stopped teasing him and said calmly, go back, I'm waiting for your good news. Without hesitation, Song Wenhua turned around and walked away quickly. As soon as she arrived at the door, Xu Qingshu's ethereal and clear voice reached her ears. Be careful not to hurt yourself. Song Wenhua was stunned. In just a moment, he left expressionless with steady steps. He would like to see if he can leave or stay tonight. In the main room, there was silence. The Dupeng bird flew out of the contract space and looked at Xu Qingshu with an indifferent expression. That kid looks pretty good, but he has a bad temper. After the master takes it, he just needs to play, but it's not suitable to stay by his side. Don't worry, when this strength is over, I will be more heartless than anyone else. Xu Qingshu didn't care at all and picked up the excellent Biluakun's spiritual tea on the table, taking a sip. As if suddenly remembering something, she lifted her eyes and looked at the Dupeng bird flying in front of her. The clear and pleasant voice could not hear joy or anger. Is it in your heart that I approach any man with the intention of harming him? Isn't it? The Dupeng bird blinked and asked in confusion. Back then, the owner's heart, which bloomed into a peony, became famous throughout the continent. End of this chapter.